Boom. Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today's video is super special. I'm going to be joined with my friend Ian to talk about this. This is Mil-Spec's brand new M1-R. Their top of the line, basically flagship vehicle that they have ever produced. And this is going to be a very sneak peek view of it. The reason why I'm doing this video is because you guys have seen this truck being built in some of my videos over the past few months. I've been working my Royal because this is where I do a lot of my working. So that being said, Ian's going to jump on screen in a few seconds and we're going to talk about this amazing truck behind us. Ian, thank you so much for joining in today's video. If you want to give like a quick background who you are, who Mil-Spec is, and then let's start talking about this beautiful truck.
Sure. Yeah, so I co-founded Mil-Spec with two of my best friends in 2015. And we started working on military Humvees when they started coming up for auction on sites like GovPlanet or Iron Planet. And we did, a number of those, and we saw the market kind of develop for resto mods or modernized SUVs and sports cars. So the launch edition program was our first entrance into the market.
And no one was doing this at the time.
No.
You were the first one. You saw the opportunity, you jumped on it.
Yeah, nobody was modernizing the H1 cohesively in one package. There are plenty of great companies that offer, engine conversions or, aftermarket accessories, but our whole focus was taking the best parts from the H1 world and creating a package with our own content that would serve the market, in turnkey vehicle form. So the launch edition was really focused on taking the concept of, what could the H1 be in a modern context. So we built a number of those for clients across the United States. And, through the production cycle, we were already thinking about this M1 program, which is basically just no compromises.
Top of the top, whatever you can throw at it, make it the ultimate.
Sure. Yeah, there were a lot of things that we weren't able to do in the first one. There were some compromises, like, some of the interior switches weren't more parts bin oriented switches.
Right, and we'll get to that soon because those interior switches are beautiful.
Yeah, so we had the really great opportunity to work with our clients. Feedback from the media and from our friends throughout the past few years, and we were able to develop a really great package. And the client approached me. We had known this individual for some time. We were waiting for the right opportunity to work with him. And he really briefed us with something that was super unique. Mil-Spec is really focused on building kind of a very simple color palette of vehicles with military focused aesthetics.
A lot of grays, dark greens, blacks, and then you see something like this that is definitely not a black or a green, but it has heritage in Hummer history, right?
Yeah, so our client wanted to do sort of a callback to the original yellow, competition yellow Hummer. So this truck was developed, to be sort of a not totally retro take on H1, but just have a lot of that iconic H1 type of, to kind of carry that aesthetic into the M1 program.
Right.
So
cool. So obviously everything that comes out of Mil-Spec is pretty crazy. Like, what distinguishes this truck from other things that have come out?
So this truck was obviously completely tailored to the client's tastes. Okay. We wanted to launch the second generation of Hummer H1s with a very large exclamation point. So
obviously a giant yellow truck is a big exclamation point.
Yeah, this truck is considered the M1-R. So the M1 series is a continuation of the launch edition. This client is very performance focused. He's also, an exotic and sports car enthusiast. So he wanted to infuse some of his other tastes and his interests into this H1 build. So very early on in the planning phases with the client, we decided to, basically give this truck a one-of-one trim level. And the R designates, the performance of the truck, both powertrain, braking, suspension.
And when you say like performance, like what kind of performance are we talking about? Because this is how much does this weigh?
Okay, so this truck is around 6,500 pounds.
That's a lot of weight for a truck. What kind of performance are you really going to get out of it?
Well, this truck has 800 horsepower, conservatively, 1,300 foot-pounds of torque.
Okay.
It has 6-piston Wilwood brakes.
Okay.
It has mildly revised rod haul long travel suspension. It's a little bit more street tuned for this particular truck. But I mean, we haven't ran the data box yet for 0 to 60 and braking and all that. But I would say, with our other trucks having 500 horsepower, 1,000 pounds of torque, those trucks did 0 to 60 around 6 seconds.
Wow.
So if you add 300 horsepower to that, I would like to be, in the low 5s to mid 5s to 60.
It's impressive.
For a large truck.
You guys can't really tell on camera, but this is a large truck.
Yeah.
Ian and I are both 5'10", obviously much taller, much longer. How wide is it? 7 feet?
It's like 91.5 inches or something.
Right. It is a really big vehicle, and that performance out of it is just crazy.
Yeah, and honestly, that's why we took our experience from the track Hummer that we built. Yeah. And
I'll show a photo of that now. It is ludicrous.
That truck had a similar powertrain setup in it. It also had 6-piston Wilwood brakes. So we took a lot of what we learned from tracking that truck and driving our off-road focused H1s, which is what it should be.
Right.
Not the track Hummer. That's kind of just like a one-off. I would say, one-off escapade.
Right, an opportunity to flex their creativity genius that comes to this building.
Yeah, I mean, Adam, the original founder, and my best friend, co-founder, he's just like me. We're not just truck guys. We're enthusiasts of boats, like motorcycles, cars, trucks. We like cool shit. So
things with engines that go fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the H1 naturally has a great weight distribution and balance because of where the powertrain's mounted. So, we felt, getting a little off topic here, but we felt that the track Hummer was a cool exercise to kind of show people you can actually make a truck handle very well.
Right.
So the M1-R though is performance focused. It's obviously very yellow.
Very.
And the client wanted a spec that not only called back to the original competition yellow H1s of the 90s and 2000s, but he wanted something that reflected his garage and his personal taste.
Does he have more yellow cars?
Yeah, he does. He has a few yellow cars.
Nice. And
they're sports cars and supercars, and this is going to be kind of an interesting, other end of the spectrum for him in the garage. And we were really challenged by him to develop something a little bit out of our wheelhouse because, as I stated earlier, Mil-Spec's not really known for flashy colors and something as bold as this. We've in the past focused on creating monochromatic, really tasteful executions of the H1, which is kind of our whole brand. Right. This truck was a nice opportunity to not only kind of step out of that a little bit, but to show that we can make something as intense as this yellow truck executed very well at a high level.
And the details throughout the car show just a level of attention and the creativity that you guys have here, just making this truly like a one-off execution. Yeah.
So this truck will show, the M1-R is really the vision for the future of the M1 program. Okay. So the interior, in the future, we'll still be offering, and we will be building some very tasteful monochromatic versions of the M1. But this truck is really just an example of what we can do when we work really closely with a client that has very specific wants, needs, and tastes. And I was really excited, when I was given this brief, and it was a really big challenge for me and for the team to take something, like what he was asking for, and hone in on a really great theme, and use it to launch the continuation of the Launch Edition series.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Let's start looking at some of the details in it, and then we can go from there.
Sure. And obviously, being an H1, this truck has the traditional clamshell hood. And opening it, it's not that difficult. Just pull the pins for the push start. We pull this Predator brush guard forward, and then we added a strut, a gas strut, for the hood to help you open it.
So what is in this engine bay?
So obviously it looks like a large conglomerate of tubes and wires.
Yeah.
Well organized.
It is very well organized.
But this is a 6.6 liter Lbz Duramax.
Okay.
And this was built by HSP Diesel here in Michigan. They took our power figures that we were, looking to get out of this powertrain, and they developed a powertrain package for us that fit the use case of the truck. So this truck, this truck has an internally balanced and blueprinted, fully built LBZ.
Okay.
Different internals, larger turbo.
You can definitely see the turbo.
Yep, the turbo's mounted right here. So they developed a really great powertrain package that was suited for the truck, and they build all of our engines for us. And this is a good look at what it looks like underneath the hood. So the H1s are considered front mid-engine, I guess you can call it that, because of where the engine's mounted. So the actual front of the engine, the fan blade, is like right here. So it's behind the front differential. Okay. So you have this cooling pack here that serves to cool this beast of motor down, and it's a little overkill, but we need it to operate in high temperatures and
which makes sense.
Push the truck.
Yeah.
So you have to excuse the truck being a little bit dirty because we're putting test models on it right now to get it prepped for the client. The interior of this truck is actually a continuation of the launch edition interior.
Okay.
So one of the things we felt that the H1 was a bit lacking, I guess being that it's a 1990s truck, was that the interior had really never evolved. Okay. So in 2018, we introduced a launch edition that had, custom fabricated interior. It's bolstered by us. And that was really the beginning of the aesthetic we wanted to create for it. So this truck has the second generation of that. Okay. It's very similar in layout, but it has more content, better components, and better ergonomics that are nipped and tucked for larger, taller drivers. Okay. Which has always been a challenge for the H1.
Why is that?
People always see H1s and they're like, this thing must be massive on the outside. But then you open the door and you've got these small seating compartments.
They are kind of tight. So it's crazy because there's so much space within the car. Like you sit on one side, I sit on the other, and like it's a stretch for both of us to touch hands or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's the original social distancing.
Truly though, right? This is 6 feet.
Yeah, it's the best car for dads with their daughters on prom night. So anyway, this interior is, it's a little bit more roomy than the original H1 interior, but the biggest change, obviously everything's different about the dash and the console and all that. The biggest change is the quality of components and fit and finish. Okay. So obviously the yellow extends from the exterior to the interior of this truck. We wanted to create a cohesive kind of, theme throughout the entire vehicle. Right. So there's swabs of Napa leather from Relicate, and every black component that you see on the interior is machined or billet anodized. So that was the biggest change, and I guess upgrade over the previous generation was we were really focused on eliminating plastic.
Right. You guys wanted to take it to a new level.
Exactly.
And seeing the first generation of the M1, it was a beautiful interior, but this is it's just a high quality. It's just really hard to describe.
Yeah, it's better. It's really, you have to see it in person to really appreciate it.
You have to feel it. Yeah. Everything that's in this car has a weight to it, and that is really nice.
Little things like this is a key that was developed by Formworks in California. Okay. And, we wanted every aspect of the truck to feel special. Right. I was on a test drive one time, and a guy walked up to me when I handed him the key. He's like, "You got a Chevy key, dude?" And I'm like, "That, I never wanted to hear that again." Right. So we went through the truck with a fine-tooth comb, and everything, down to the door lock pulls and the windshield wiper controls are all machined. Okay. And it's kind of funny because, who doesn't want to adjust their wiper speed and feel like they're ejecting their passenger with toggle switches, Right. So it's a fun experience, and I feel like with a truck this interesting and this crazy, it deserves an interior like that.
It does.
So obviously the interior of the M1-R is very unique in its configuration. If you're not familiar with Hummer H1s, you've got this massive center console. And that's because, the engine and transmission are mounted so far back in the chassis that you have limited packaging space within the chassis to put things like your air conditioning units, your wiring harnesses, and that stuff. So basically the layout's very simple. You have some very cool analog gauges. These are actually analog, but they're GPS controlled. So you have things like altimeters, 0 to 60 timers, and then every single temperature in the truck you need to be cognizant of while off-roading or driving aggressively. Most of these components are done in a black anodized finish because the client specified that. You have obviously 4 billet, AC vents on the dash, and then you have these very cool kind of, almost like audio equipment like AC controls on the dashboard to have a really nice feedback and feel. We really paid attention in this truck to getting every single detail correct for the interior. We felt that if we were going to do a second generation, we need to really address some of the shortcomings and quality of the original truck with some of the switches and the different, layouts of the controls. So we focused on simplification and design. So getting into that, this truck has, tons more legroom, a very simplified and intuitive kind of driver controlled center with, tactile billet machine controls. So you have things like your windshield wiper switches, like I mentioned earlier. You have your key, which kind of, in this case, looks like a switch rather than a key because you have this really cool silhouette. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to celebrate that. You have, your engine mode selection, your electronic parking brake, and you have an electronic shifter. These are all new features for this truck. And it's really making it driver focused. There's a lot of little Easter eggs as well, like, even the steering column is billet machined. We have these Lexan adjustable sun visors that don't impede your vision because they're transparent. This is also a machined arm that's anodized black. Every switch in the truck is machined, aside for a couple small ones that we couldn't repackage. So you have this main switch bank here, which controls all of your lighting, your heated windshield, your transmission coolers, all of that fun stuff you need to be aware of. And then you even have your window switches and door lock controls up here in the same style as the switches that you see throughout the truck. So at the end of the day, the experience for people that are riding and driving the truck is much more of an elevated experience than what you're experiencing in the original launch edition, which was, although a great, step and start for the Hummer repackage, this truck is truly a great example of what Mil-Spec's capable of in executing. So obviously the startup sequence of the truck is simple. You just let the truck, warm up, the glow plugs warm up, and you're greeted by this cool blue hue throughout the entire interior. The client wanted red accents to, indicate the sporting nature of the truck. So we did this, red center line on the steering wheel. And then we, obviously changed the color of the AC controls to a nice red tint. So it has a nice, just cool blue and a red accent when you're sitting in the truck. All of these little switches have kind of pilot lights, which allows you to see them at night. But although you've got all these analog controls, it's really kind of great because when you're sitting here, it does feel like a control center.
So, what's going on back here?
So obviously, the exterior of the M1 is going to be very similar to what we offered in the launch edition.
Right.
So this is the business end of the truck, and you've got heavy duty bumper,
Very heavy duty.
very heavy duty.
Yes.
You have our Mil-Spec branding and door inserts that you kind of carry around the truck.
Right.
We have some interesting features in the back, especially these reverse lights.
Those are interesting.
These are rigid light bars that we use for reverse lights on the M1-R. That's not standard. That's more of a client wish.
Yeah.
But you have a backup camera. You have your
your integrated tow hitch below the super secret license plate here.
Oh, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, there you go. And then you've got, you have your air hookup for your ARB air compressor, which is actually located underneath there.
So that's something that's really interesting to me because I'm not part of the off-road world.
Sure.
I didn't really know much about that. Could you explain why you would want an air compressor on a truck of this size?
Yeah, so the original H1 had central tire inflation.
Okay.
And that was a system that basically allowed you to deflate and inflate your tires based on the driving conditions that you're experiencing. That's a great system. It works if it's maintained.
Yeah.
A lot of clients and us personally have experienced issues with it, leaking and waiting for it to pump up in the morning before driving. So we can obviously utilize that system, but we prefer to integrate an ARB air compressor.
Okay.
So what that's utilized for on this truck is a locking rear differential, as well as onboard air. So onboard air allows you to run, basically hose around the truck. And if you're, going to the sand dunes, you deflate your tires, you can re-inflate your tires.
At any moment. Okay.
At any moment, well, not while you're driving, all over. But it also allows you to run pneumatic tools.
Okay.
So every truck, and you'll see when you open the interior, this comes with ARB air lines that allows you to, hook in and utilize that for any purpose you'd like.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right, tell me about this jungle gym up here.
So this is considered a Baja Rack.
Okay.
This is a mainly aesthetic feature that helps the proportion of the truck.
Yeah.
But obviously we have a spare tire up there. Personally, I really like when clients spec the soft top with the brush guard and Baja Rack.
Yeah.
Because it kind of has this really cool tubular, Baja feel to the truck. So these accessories are, they're obviously options.
Right.
The standard truck, retains the original flat H1 bumper and doesn't have, this large roll cage above it. But personally, I think that's just really freaking cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's not all the time that you can see, what, a 35-inch tire? How big is this?
These are 38s.
38-inch tire, 6 feet off the ground.
Yeah, it's not easy to get up and down.
Oh, I can only imagine. How much does that tire wheel weigh?
I can't tell you off the top of my head. In the comment section, somebody's going to come up with the exact ounce.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it, Reddit.
Yeah.
And if you wanted this car, if you wanted to build an M1, you also have the opportunity to do the wagon version, like a hardtop, or even the slopback. What is that called?
It's a slantback.
Slantback.
So we offer
slantback,
slopback, potato.
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah, exactly. So the slantback is the kind of iconic, Hummer configuration.
Right.
That means it's a hard top with a slant back portion.
Right.
It's like the original military Humvee, Arnold Schwarzenegger silhouette.
Right.
So we offer basically the base truck is a 4-door hardtop pickup truck.
Okay.
And then we can do the slant back or the wagon.
Okay.
We haven't done a wagon yet. And really, I love the wagon.
The wagon has you can see all the way through. You can have more seats if you wanted, or anything like that.
Yeah, the wagon's great. You've got these really cool kind of double doors.
Safari double doors. What are they called?
Yeah, and you can integrate a lot more overlanding type features and trucks like that. I would really love to see somebody spec a wagon out.
Yeah.
We've done slantbacks. We've done the 4-door, hardtop pickup. We've done the soft tops. I really like to see that in the future.
For sure.
It'd be sweet.
So obviously something like this is 8 months of your guys' work, a lot of time, a lot of attention to detail, a lot of custom parts. This isn't going to come cheap.
Yeah.
How much does something like this run?
So this truck was a hair over $400,000.
Okay.
And that includes the donor vehicle price. People, it's hard, with the rest of the mod industry, it's hard to discuss the base price because that's a turnkey price of a nut and bolt restoration in upgrades. People compare it to G-Wagons or the cost of Range Rover or the cost of Defender.
Right.
But really what you're getting is a completely modernized classic vehicle that's been fully restored by our team. So, and I have to say one thing. Although, one of the co-founders here, and Adam and Chris, who are on camera, my two co-founders, I have to give major credit and props to our team. None of this would be possible without them.
Yeah.
And although we had a major influence on the design and the aesthetics and the concept, it's really them who built the vehicle and make this thing, what you see today.
Yeah.
So I have to give them props. I always have to make sure that they're acknowledged and people understand that, although I'm here talking about it, those guys are what makes the dream work. It makes the truck.
The three of you, the holy trinity of the Mil-Spec brand.
Yeah, well, those guys, we balance each other out.
Right.
But it's really the guys in the back that, you know, that do the fabrication work, the upholstery, the electrical, like, you know, all
You
of
guys
it.
have some amazingly talented individuals who work in this facility.
Yeah, incredible talent. And, you know, obviously a truck like this takes between 8 and 10 months to build. That time will get less and less as we build more of these M1s.
Right.
But this particular truck is, you know, taking close to 10 months to build.
Yeah.
So.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Before we leave, I want to give Ian a huge thanks. I want to give the thanks to the Mil-Spec team for the invitation to come see the Mil-Spec M1-R. Ian, any last words?
Yeah, thanks for coming out, and looking forward to sharing more of the M1 series as they're built. I'm sure you'll see plenty of Mil-Spec vehicles in the background of your, you know, Royal Enfield build videos in the future.
Very true.
But thank you so much for the support over the years, and it should be great to release the forthcoming M1 trucks in the coming months.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to see what's up next. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and that subscribe button. You've made it 30 minutes into the video, might as well. With that being said, a high five to end the video. Yeah, there we go.